Hi and welcome to my weekly vlog. Please excuse the voice. I've lost it a little bit, but hopefully it'll hold up for this episode. So this week, rather than showing you my week, because there wasn't much I could actually film, I thought I'd talk a little bit about writing. So since I announced my novel and that I had a publishing deal, loads of people have asked me a bunch of questions about sort of the writing process and the publishing process. So I'm going to do my best to answer as many of those questions as I can without being disingenuous, because honestly this is my first novel. I'm not an expert by any means, but I can at least share sort of my journey. So the main question that people tend to ask me is, how long did it take you to write your book? And the short answer is, I'm not really sure, but I'm going to give you the long answer because we've got some time. So grab a cup of tea and join me. I've always wanted to write a novel, but it kind of seemed like a really unattainable dream, like one of those things that one day I'll do that, one day, but I never really thought seriously about it. And then I think it was sort of 2013 that I started thinking, okay, no, I actually have to do this. If I say I want to do it, I want to do it. And I hated my job and just needed some kind of creativity. I was blogging at the time, but I guess I was just looking to do something different. So midway through the year, I started planning out a novel. It wasn't a psychological thriller, it wasn't crime, it was, actually didn't really have a storyline. I kind of had a character and I had some ideas, and I knew it wasn't really good enough to build into a story, but I just thought, I'm just gonna go with it and see where it leads. So in the November of that year, I took part in NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writers Month. Okay, I've just seen a message. I have a new housemate moving in and she's about to arrive, so I'm going to finish this later. Bear with me. Okay, so sorry about that. So I did NaNoWriMo, which is basically, the challenge is to write 50,000 words in a month. So that's like a short novel. It's not like a full length novel. It is sort of 80 to 100,000 words. So you don't write a full one, but you kind of, you know, there's enough there that you can pad it out to create a full novel. So I did that the first year. I think I was like 10 words short because I was staying up like frantically trying to finish at midnight on the final day of November and didn't quite hit the 50,000. But I wrote like 49,900 words or something like that. So, and that was a really good way of just like learning to get into better writing habits. So I would wake up every day. I was in a full-time job, woke up every day at like 6, did an hour of writing. It was the middle of winter, so that kind of sucked. So I'd get up, have a cup of coffee, and sit and write for an hour. And I would try and write the full 1,500 words, or I think it's like 1,660 words or something. And then get ready for work and go to work. And then I'd blog in the evenings. And sometimes I wouldn't hit the word count. Actually, probably more often than not, I wouldn't hit the word count, but then I'd do some at night, or I'd do extra work at the weekends to make up for it. And at the end of that, I had, it wasn't even really a proper story. I had 50,000 words that were basically unusable. But what I did was I sort of left it, and I think probably 6 months later, I went back and reread it and realized how terrible it was. And I think it was that year, see, I can't even remember the timeline. But anyway, at some point in the next year or so, I went on holiday with a friend of mine. We went to Istanbul. She was writing a novel based in Turkey, and so she wanted to go for research. She's American, and so we met up in Istanbul and had a holiday, and it was my birthday, and she gave me a book called Save the Cat, which is a screenwriting book. So not anything to do with writing novels, but she said it really helped her structure hers. So I had a read and it was actually super helpful. So I sat down with the book and re-plotted and planned my whole novel basically from scratch, because what I'd done was just not even, I don't know, there was no story, it was just characters. So yeah, I actually sat down and plotted it out, and then the following year I did NaNoWriMo again. and this time I was actually working to a plot. So that took me to the end of 2014. Gosh, it's so hard to like remember when I did what. Anyway, the point is, this whole process took years of like on and off, and then I'd leave it for 6 months and then I'd work on it again, or I'd have like a bit of time to work on it in a quiet month, and then I went freelance, and so between clients I'd be able to work on the book, and it gradually started taking shape. And then I sent the first 50 pages, I think, to some writer friends just to get their opinion, see if I was onto something. And I had some good feedback, I had some helpful and constructive feedback. So I was sort of working on it from that angle as well. So from first kind of, you know, typing the first words at the end of, mid 2013, to actually querying an agent, which happened at the beginning of 2016. So it was almost 3 years. 2.5 to 3 years. So a while. And then from there, I queried an agent, but I'll get onto that later in another episode. But all of this to say, my process was not really a process. Like, I wrote my novel around my full-time job. I wrote my novel around my freelancing clients. I wrote my novel when I had a chance. I wrote parts of it during NaNoWriMo, and then parts of it were just on my own when I had a chance. So there wasn't really a lot of structure to the way I did it. And I think that's partly because I didn't know where it was all gonna lead. Like, I couldn't, in my mind, give up every Saturday, for example, to write a book when I didn't know if I was ever gonna be published. Like, it was kind of a pipe dream at that point. So I just sort of did it as and when I could, just thinking, well, you know, there's no hurry, there's no deadline, I'll get this done when I get it done. So book 1 was all very loosely structured in terms of the process. Book 2 is going to be a whole other story, but that is for another episode as well. So I feel like I've just really rambled in this one, and I'm sorry, I'm not quite myself with my voice and I'm very tired. But hopefully that answers your question slightly in a very, very roundabout way. As I say, short answer is, I have no idea. Long answer is ages and in fits and starts. So if you're working on a novel, all I can say is just keep going, just keep writing, keep at it, don't be put off, don't be discouraged. Try NaNoWriMo, it's a good way of getting into daily writing habits and just writing whether you feel like it or not, because chances are you do not. I didn't anyway. So yeah, that's it for this episode. Questions, let me know in the comments below. Give this a thumbs up, subscribe if you're keen to know more. Next week I'm going to be talking about querying an agent and how I went about that, and tips that I have from my very limited experience. So thank you so much for watching and putting up with my croaky voice, and I hope to see you again next week. Bye!